Good evening. Welcome to the February 6, 2013 Boundary Public Hearing. This evening I'm joined with my colleagues, Ms. Carolyn Boston and Mrs. Sabrina Epps, to hear from the public with regard to the superintendent's proposed boundary changes. We did not have any pre-registered speakers this evening. However, we do have a speaker who has signed up this evening to speak. Ms. Tanya Lawson, Oxon Hill High School PTA. Were you just signing in or you want to speak? Please come forward.
Prior to hearing the...
We didn't have any registered speakers tonight, so we were going to still hold the hearing in case anyone here wanted to speak, but the presentation is the same, and it'll be presented again when we do our second reader and before we vote.
Okay. Good evening, Interim Superintendent, the school board, parents, and community stakeholders. My name is Tanya Lawson. I'm the president of the Oxon Hill High PTSA. Thank you for this opportunity to share some comments related to the recommended school boundary changes. Dr. Crawley, the proposed recommendation presented is not a viable solution for resolving the problem of having inadequate student capacity at the new Oxon Hill High School. Our concerns were stated last week at the January 30th board meeting, and to this day, we have not heard from anyone. The Board of Education and Central Office had been derelict in their duties to have transparent, open meetings with parents to discuss a viable solution. Public hearings like the one I'm speaking at today are not meetings that are open, collaborative, and transparent. The lack of a meeting with the school board and the central office is creating anger and hostility within the Oxon Hill community. This lack of communication creates added frustration in light of the information that I've also received today. Last week I had asked a question about the furniture, fixture, and equipment contract, and recently I've been advised that the furniture, fixture, and equipment contract for the new Oxon Hill High School had been canceled. Dr. Crawley, why was this contract canceled, and is that true? It's my understanding that the Office of the Superintendent has directed the school to identify furniture, fixture, and equipment requirements for the new school. No budget amount was identified, and no structure or mechanism for implementation of this process was given. Is 6 months a sufficient amount of time for there to be an orderly transition from the existing Oxon Hill High School to the new approximately $90 million Science and Technology High School? A haphazard approach will lead to chaos and confusion when students arrive in a new building with inadequate furniture, fixture, and equipment. Dr. Crawley, as superintendent, this is clearly inadequate. I ask that we have a discussion on this. What are our next steps after this? The Oxon Hill High PTSA and community demand a meeting with the key stakeholders before a final decision is made on the boundary changes to address this problem and develop a viable solution. The stakeholders who should participate in this meeting are the Board of Education, County Council, parents, students, and community of Oxon Hill High and Potomac High School. We ask that our comments and concerns be reflected on record, and we thank you for listening to our concerns and requests at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lawson. Are there any other interested parties in the audience who would like to speak tonight with regard to the public hearing?
Well, I hope that we can have Dr. Crawley address some of the concerns that were brought up. Because, again, we're not having dialogue. It's one way.
So the public hearing is to hear from you, and Dr. Crawley has actually already begun the process of I shouldn't say responding because you haven't heard yet, but he's already begun the process of putting together responses for what we heard last week and gave an update to the board with regard to what he's doing in that process. So that's going to happen. I don't want to speak for you, Dr. Crawley, but the public hearing isn't designed to do a back and forth, but the board specifically, as you said last week, did direct and talk about what that should look like, and the administration is working on that.
can we expect to have a meeting before this final decision is made?
So we will, what I think would be most appropriate is if we collaborate after the public hearing has been held, and I think that would be a better dialogue because this is designed to hear from the public. We don't have any other registered speakers, but just for the record, in terms of the critical dates, the Board of Education at our January 24th, 2013 meeting did receive a presentation from the administration, which we considered as a first reader. During the February 7th board meeting, the proposal will be discussed as a second reader, which will provide, which is the process by which the board then deliberates and talk about and ask questions specific to the administration to get answers. February 7th, so that's going to occur tomorrow. No action, however, will be taken. We do have scheduled for a final vote by the board on whatever the final proposal is and whatever recommendations the board might have scheduled for the February 21st, 2013 board meeting. That is an evening meeting. Other than that, Dr. Crawley, we don't have any other registered speakers, and from the presentation that I know you've been working on tomorrow, that's going to be the first opportunity for the public to get to see that part of it. And I would say go to board docs because we do have those documents as well on board docs. That concludes our public hearing for this evening, February the 6th, 2013. We consider this hearing to have been held, and we are adjourned.